Today on Mina Studio, 5 Lent worship ideas for the small church. Hey everybody, welcome to Mina Studio. My name is Nathan, and with me as always is my extremely liturgical tech director, Ronald. Today we are going to be talking about Lent. Now I know some of you might observe Lent in your churches, and some of you might not observe Lent in your churches at all. And if that is the case, then I don't really understand why you're watching this video at all. This is about Lent, so. But if you do observe Lent in your church, then you're in the right place, because today I'm going to talk about 5 worship ideas for Lent in the small church. Lent worship idea number 1, have prayer stations instead of a service. What I mean by this is not necessarily replacing your Sunday service with just a prayer station, but during Lent, there are often some other special kind of contemplative services that happen, such as Ash Wednesday or Monday, Thursday. These are usually evening services during the week. Well, they're always during the week because they're Wednesday and Thursday. But anyways, so instead of having that evening service just as a traditional service, maybe instead have your church open the entire day and set up prayer stations in your church that people can come to throughout the day whenever they have free time and kind of have their own service and their own contemplative worship moment. This is not my idea. We did this in a previous church, but I thought it was just a great idea. In our sanctuary, we had kind of a Stations of the Cross thing set up. So you would come in and you would go to different stations throughout the sanctuary that were just permanently set up, well, permanently for the day. And you would do read a scripture, or there'd be some kind of activity like lighting a candle for some reason, or maybe like pouring sand into a jar, or doing something with water. I don't know. I don't remember the details. There's tons of ideas on kind of these experiential worship moments online that you can use. But you would just come in during the day and you would go through in order the Stations of the Cross. It would take you through the story. Depending on if it's Ash Wednesday or Monday, Thursday, there would kind of be a different focus. And people would just come in and do that whenever they had free time during the day. It'd take maybe 15, 20 minutes to do, and it was a really great experience for everybody. This was set up all day, so it opened it up to a lot more people, and we would just have volunteers there, maybe for an hour or two, just to kind of man the stations. They didn't really do anything other than just sit there so that someone would be there and the doors would be open. Lent worship idea number 2. Include your congregation in your liturgy, or if you don't have a liturgy at all, start one. So if you do have a liturgy in your church, and what I mean by that roughly is that you have things like a dedicated call to worship and prayer of confession and benediction and things like that. If you have that, then maybe open that up to the congregation. Have people sign up to volunteer to write things like a Lent confession or a Lent call to worship, and use those all throughout Lent. And if you don't have a formal liturgy like that, maybe during Lent, kind of start one just to change things up. And if your congregation is the one writing that, then I think your church would probably be more open to having a sort of liturgy in your church during that time. Because if you don't have a liturgy, sometimes they get really freaked out if you start one. Lent worship idea number 3. Fasting. Yeah, this one's not really a revolutionary idea because fasting is really common during Lent. But many modern churches don't really focus on fasting at all, and that might be a great change of pace during Lent. Just to take a season and explore the spiritual discipline known as fasting, which can be very foreign to a lot of modern Christians and modern worshipers. And if you're in a younger church, or maybe even an older church, you can try to do things like fast from technology, or Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Just something that the congregation would acknowledge often takes their focus off of God and often takes their focus off of the cross. Take something like that, and then that can make fasting very meaningful and relevant to them. If you're taking something that they know distracts them from God, like Facebook, let's be honest. We all know we shouldn't be scrolling through Facebook for 4 hours. Maybe we should, I don't know, crack open a Bible or whatever. We don't need to be told that. We know it's a distraction. And to take a moment during Lent, or a 6-week moment, and say, we do know this. We do know that this is a distraction. So we as a church are going to try to fast from this distraction from God. Could be a really cool thing. Or they could all just think you're crazy. But if you're a pastor, worship leader watching this, they'll already think you're crazy anyway. Sorry. Lent worship idea number 4. Minor keys. Okay, so minor key isn't really an idea, but I think you know what I'm talking about. There's a lot of great hymns that are kind of somber and contemplative and minor. And during the year, they can seem a little out of place and strange, but during Lent, it's a great time to use them. In fact, a lot of them were written for Lent, so, that the authors probably knew what they were doing. A couple ideas for this would be the hymn, What Wondrous Love Is This? Is a great one. O Sacred Head Now Wounded, really great minor hymn, very Lent sounding. And unsurprisingly, you can find both of those on REAWAKENHymns.com. Another one I'm doing on REAWAKEN Hymns is Stricken, Smitten, and Afflicted. I just found out about it, and it is awesome. So that will actually be out next week, but I'll have a link in the description of this video so you guys can see it a week early. So pull out some of those minor hymns or some of those slower songs. Lent is a great time to just slow worship down and make it a little more contemplative and low-key and prayerful than you might usually do. Although I guess your worship should always be prayerful. Alright, I take back that last one. Always make your worship prayerful. Lent worship idea number 5. Check out your Orthodox and Catholic brothers and sisters. Alright, so this one really isn't advice, it's just a suggestion, but I think it's a good one. Look at Orthodox churches, look at Catholic churches, look at what they do during Lent. They do some amazing things. And, well, it's because they kind of invented Lent. I mean, they have traditions going back hundreds and thousands of years. Great services, great liturgies, great ideas, great everything. And I know as Protestant churches, sometimes we try to distance ourselves from the Orthodox and the Catholic churches, and there might be some good reasons for that. There might be some terrible reasons for that. I don't need to get into that right now, but just because it's a slightly different tradition or a little different theology than what we came from or where we are now, doesn't mean we can't look at them and share ideas with them and work together. And this got really hippie, hands across America, everybody work together-ish, but that's okay. You understand what I'm saying. They have great traditions. And when we're looking at Lent is it's a church tradition. That's what it is. So we need to look at those places like Orthodox and Catholic churches that have been doing it for so long and have great resources that are open for us to use. There it is, 5 Lent ideas for your small church. Hopefully I didn't just manage to alienate all 3 major traditions of Christianity, but whatever. Thank you so much for joining me here on Mina Studio. Ronald was glad you came. And if you have any other Lent ideas, please leave them in the comments below, because I only got 5, but you guys probably got a million of them. So let me hear them, share them with the community. Let's all work together. Why am I so hippie today? Please subscribe to Mina Studio, and I will see you back here next week.